Hello everyone, and welcome to Amy Trace's Lunch and Learn. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. I'm Faraz Ahmed, and today we'll be discussing a new premium access feature, LiveStory. LiveStory, in its most simplest form, is a built-in teleprompter for the TC1 or TriCaster. You can see the teleprompter function right now from my iPhone camera. So this teleprompter is being generated via the TriCaster. You can then automate functions in the TriCaster based on the commands from the script. So in a second here, you're going to see a white box with Faraz. That's a cue. And when it hits that cue, it'll automatically go to that input, me. All sorts of functions can be automated by the TriCaster teleprompter. As you can see from my iPhone camera, no one is operating the TriCaster. Now let's go ahead and go back to my camera. Now there are many functions we can do, like I can bring in a picture-in-picture, I can reposition that picture-in-picture, and I can even change the image inside of that picture-in-picture. I can add a title. I can even tell the TriCaster to load and play back a clip. And it's going to pause while it plays back the clip. And as the clip's over, I can toss this over to my co-host, Philip Green.
Hey, Philip Green here via NDI webcam. And I have a teleprompter launched here as well on Studio Monitor, so I can read off the NDI monitor. So for us, where did you create the script and how is it automated?
I was waiting for that question. All of this is being driven by the teleprompter from the TriCaster. So the next natural question is, how do I program the teleprompter? And this is the cool part. You've already done it. It's all driven through the comment function of Microsoft Words. Yes, those little notes you can make in the document can actually drive and instruct the TriCaster to perform commands. This entire script that I've been reading, and Philip as well, was typed in Microsoft Word and then automated using comments and LiveStory Creator. So let's dig in and see how all this works. We're going to start off by going in Microsoft Word and kind of decoding the script. So here's the script that I just read on the TriCaster, but now I'm actually looking at it in Word. This is where I created it. And so you can see I've got all my words here that I'm going to read the script, and then next to that I've got all my comments on here. And so, for example, this first comment here is saying that I want to put black, and then I want to load Sweet Broadcast in buffer 1. Sweet Broadcast is the name of a title, and it's not the exact name, but it's close enough, and LiveStory Creator can figure out exactly what it is. It uses something called fuzzy logic. So when I say load, or if I say open, it interprets that the same way. Same thing as saying black, that puts black on program, but I could also say put black on program, and it would do the same thing. It'll interpret that as just put black on program. So there's many different ways to say the same thing. It's kind of using normal human speech to understand what's going on. Now, this next thing that I have here is something called a cue. And so what I did here is I took the name, my name, Faraz Ahmed, and I told it to be a heading 3, the type of style. And that's a special type of style, heading 3, because it makes it into a cue. And so on the teleprompter, it'll actually have a white box and it'll say my name on it, so I know not to read it. It's just a white box. But because it's a cue, it does a couple of things for me automatically. It'll automatically switch over to any input labeled Faraz Ahmed. So I had one of my cameras labeled Faraz Ahmed, so it went ahead and changed my camera, what's on program, to that input, as well as it puts a lower third up with my name on it, as you saw. So it went ahead and did that. As I'm moving forward here, I can see that I have my iPhone here. I have a little comment on that, and it just says iPhone. And what it's literally doing is it's putting the iPhone input on program. If I change this and I said, mobile camera, now one of my inputs, if it was called mobile camera, would automatically put that on program. I could also say put input 4 on program by just putting input 4. It'll automatically put that on program for me. You can see here that I put iPhone up again, and so it's just changing what's on program to iPhone. And then I say, let's go back to my camera, and so I just put Faraz Ahmed, because again, that's the label of my camera. And then I wanted to do some picture-in-pictures. And so I could put PIP, which stands for picture-in-picture, and then VMC1 limitless was the rough name of the image. The image actually was, I think, VMC1 limitless.jpg, but I didn't have to put a file path or anything like that. It found the file on the hard drive and actually opened it up and added it to my DDR on my graphics player. And then it was smart enough to put it on the top right, because that's what I had labeled. I can also put bottom right. That's where it changed that position for me. I could put small, so it makes it small here. It understands that picture-in-picture and PIP mean the same thing. There was a image on there called snake. And so I said, do a picture-in-picture of snake on bottom right. And now it's going to do that. And then I can say picture-in-picture off, and it turns off the picture-in-picture. I had a title loaded into one of my buffers. And so I said, make DSK3, turn it on, and put buffer 2 in it. And that's exactly what it did. And then I wanted to play back a clip. And so I knew there was a hot air balloon clip. I didn't know the exact name, but I just typed in balloon, and I said fade to balloon. And I could even say fade to balloon fast, and so it actually will do a fast transition now. Scrolling down, I did that Q command again, and so I just highlighted that Philip Green text. I made it a heading 3, and so now it said Philip Green there, so Philip knew to, that's his script to read. And it went ahead and switched to the camera that was labeled or input labeled Philip Green, and it put the lower third on there for me. Came back to me, same thing. And so we can continue adding commands and things like that as we're going. On here, if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to change it so when I said Microsoft Word here, it came to my laptop here, I can simply just highlight the word, go to Insert, Comment, and say, go to the input labeled laptop. And there's that command. I could say even, hey, don't actually go to laptop on program, do a picture-in-picture. Laptop, large top right. And now it's going to do a picture-in-picture large top right for me. And then I can say, you know what, go ahead and take the picture-in-picture off here when I read that word. So I'm going to say comment, picture-in-picture off. And so now we've done all these commands, and now I'm going to simply just save this. So now we're on our TC1 that has premium access because LiveStory Creator is part of the premium access subscription. And so to access the LiveStory Creator interface, I'll click on the automation tab right here. And right now it's pretty empty because we don't have a script loaded. So I'll hit the plus button right here and bring in my script. And so now it's going to load and interpret the script. So all those commands that I put in there, it's going to work through them. And as I hover over each command, it'll tell me if there's an issue or not an issue. For example, there's a little asterisk over the black, so it's saying, hey, we might have an issue with this, we might not. So I can just then test to see if there might be an issue with it. And the simple test would be, right, I can put an input up and hit play, and let's see, does it go to black? So it's interpreted it, it's put black on air. That's exactly what we wanted. Now, this cue right here, Faraz Ahmed, automatically put that lower third, and you can see it populated that with my name automatically here. And then it's going ahead and fading that off. And the cues, again, were that heading 3 that we put up there. So we continue scrolling and taking a look at stuff. We can see that this blue command means that it took a command, it knows exactly where to go. So here it's going to go to input number 4. And so I can basically hit play right here, and when it hits that caret hits that word, it goes to input number 4, which happens just to be black in this case. And this is what I would be reading, right? And I would be reading right here on this little caret, which you can adjust. That's your eyeline caret. So you'd want to be reading right where that little caret is. And if you read where that caret is, those commands would be happening. So I could be reading about this cue and so on and so forth. And then as soon as you see it hit Faraz Ahmed, you're going to see that action happen automatically. And we're reading, and you can see these different commands going back and forth. So as I scroll down, I can take a look at this picture-in-picture command. You can see that it immediately sees what that looks like. And so if I hit play here, you can see that it puts that picture-in-picture right there on the top left. Now let's say I wanted to fade that in and I want it on the top right. I can update that on my Word document there. So I can basically go into Word and say, hey, let's change this real quick. So I'm going to change that comment in Word. So I updated my comment for this picture-in-picture to say top right now. So if I hover over, it's going to say top right. And I can actually scrap. So I updated my script in Word so that it's no longer doing the picture-in-picture on the top left, it's doing it in the top right. And I saved it. Now in the TriCaster, it saw that there is an update that happened. And so I can update this script by hitting this update icon right here. And just reloads that script and kind of encodes all those comments that I sent it. And I'll scroll down here. And so now if I hit play, instead of the picture-in-picture on the left, it should be on the right. So now that the TriCaster is generating the teleprompter feed, how do I get it out of the TriCaster and into my physical teleprompter? Let's take a look at the interface. So taking a look at the interface here, I can see that I don't see my teleprompter anywhere here, right? We have it under automation. We've got this little teleprompter here, but I don't actually see it on any of my inputs. So what I do is I can go to any one of my inputs, but I'll go to my last input, go to source, and under the TC1 dropdown, I can see that teleprompter feed right here. Look at that one more time. And there's that teleprompter feed right there. So I can choose that now. And now if I look at input 16, there's my teleprompter. So I can actually put this on preview real quick, and you can see there's a teleprompter right there. And if I move through this, it's actually going to do those teleprompter feeds. Now what I'm going to actually do here is, remember on this cog, we can actually turn off the triggers. I'm going to turn those off real quick. That way my screen won't automatically start changing as I scroll through this. But as I'm scrolling through this now, I can see that it's on input 16. Now, putting this on program or preview will not be terribly handy for me. I really need it to go out of one of my other outputs. Remember, the TC1's got 4 independent outputs. So you might be using program 1, output 1 for program, maybe output 2 for program clean, but you can use one of the other ones for your teleprompter output. So I'll go to my program cog over here, where I get my output configuration, and I'll say mix 4, or output number 4 on the back of the TriCaster. I want that to be input number 16, because remember I mapped the teleprompter to input number 16. So over here you see the teleprompter is on input number 16. I'm going to say I want output number 4 to also be input number 16. And so that last spigot, output number 4, will be showing the teleprompter feed. Now, remember that all these inputs are available. These are all part of the NDI network. So anywhere I have Studio Monitor, I can actually open this and look at these feeds directly as well. So a while back, when Philip was looking and reading from that teleprompter, he didn't have a physical teleprompter back there or an SDI output. He was literally looking at the free Studio Monitor, right? And remember that NDI Studio Monitor is a free tool that allows you to see any NDI feed on your network. And so he was able to pull up that teleprompter very, very quickly right there. Now, looking at the teleprompter feed, you can see there are a lot of different styles or different ways the text is being displayed. You've got cues here, and then as you go through, you'll see subtitles. Different things will be displayed in different ways. And then on the interface, you'll also see they're displayed in different ways. So if I go to my interface here real quick, you'll see that there's a little bit different text that's displayed in here versus the teleprompter output. So the way it's displayed in here is kind of showing me the automation commands. So like this red right here is showing me that there might be an issue here. This blue right here is telling there's a command here, so on and so forth. If I go back to my display output, or the actual teleprompter output that's going to my physical teleprompter, you can see that it removes those automations, but it does have certain styles still on there, like this cue style, saying that this is the speaker that should be reading right now. So how are those happening, and how does that work, right? How are those styles decided? They're decided through Word, and I'm going to show you how that works again. And then I'm going to show you the different types of styles available to you in Word. So let's go ahead and get my Word interface back up, and then let's take a look at it over here. So I have quite a few different styles that I can work with, document styles. And again, these are right here, these document styles in Word. And so the first one that I can work with is the title. The title is basically a show title. And so this is the show title right here. And so under my styles, if I want that to be set, I would choose title. Now, the title style is usually applied to the show title, and it's not seen on the teleprompter output, right? So if my new show is called the, let's say, Atlanta Morning Show, right? I could set that to the title command, but it will not be displayed on my output. It's not necessary on my teleprompter output. So what is this used for? This is used for a graphic variable or a data link variable. If you've worked with graphics inside the TriCaster, we call these data links or a variable. So essentially, we can then fill out our different text with this variable right here. So we're able to put the text in here, and it's going to be able to show up in my graphics inside of my TriCaster. What's another variable I've got? That's heading 1, and this is the show descriptor. This, just like the title, is not displayed on the teleprompter output. I can't spell over here. This is not shown on my teleprompter output, but is another variable I can use in my graphic. So let's say, again, I wanted that, an opening graphic that's at Atlanta Morning Show, and then underneath it, I wanted it to say, breaking Atlanta news. I can then make that a heading 1, and it won't be shown on my teleprompter output, but it will be a variable inside the TriCaster that I can use in different graphics that I build in there. All right, the next one I've got, I'm kind of just building this out here so you can kind of see it all laid out, is heading 2, and that's a segment. So you can break things up into different segments. So, for example, I can have, the breaking news segment, and then the local news, and then the maybe sports and weather and so on and so forth. And then again, I can use these inside of my TriCaster as graphic variables. So I can have a sports graphic come up, and then another graphic come up, and so on and so forth. And the graphics will actually build on the fly in real time on the TriCaster. So under heading 2 here, segment, I will just say heading 2, so that shows up. That's how that looks. So I can say my segments are first local news, and then we'll do a segment on the weather, and then we'll do a segment on sports. And I'll make this a heading 2, I'll make weather a heading 2, and then I'll make sports a heading 2. All right? And then I've got cues. That's heading 3, which is cues, and that's who's reading, what speaker is reading. So heading 3 are cues, and I'll make that heading 3. And that essentially saying who's reading this text. Again, it's shown on the teleprompter output, but it's actually shown in inverse, basically just giving me that cue of who's reading, that white box around it. So we'll say local news is being read by Faraz Ahmed. Our weatherman is Philip Green. And then sports is being done by Matthew Simmons, right? And so under Faraz, right now it's just the normal style right here. I'm going to choose to make it heading 3. And then Philip Green will also be heading 3. and Matthew Simmons will be heading 3. The last thing I've got is subtitle, or second to last, I should say. Subtitle is basically an instruction for the talent that's shown on the teleprompter, but is not read. So it's shown, but shown in yellow italics. So I can say, Philip Green, after this, at the top of it, I can say, walk over to green screen from desk. And I can highlight this text and make it a subtitle. So it'll be shown on the teleprompter output, but in yellow text so he doesn't read this out loud. And then, of course, our last one is our normal or our body text. That's what people are going to read out loud, and it's going to be shown on the teleprompter. So Atlanta's breaking news today is the weather is amazing. And the weather report is that this is breaking news for Atlanta because it's not too hot or too cold. And so on and so forth. So that'll be kind of the way you break it down. So again, you've got a handful of different ones here. You've got your title style, which is, again, not shown on the teleprompter output, but uses a graphic variable. Your heading 1, which is the show descriptor, so that's my breaking Atlanta news. Heading 2, which is the segment, so that's local news, weather, and sports. You also have a cue, the talent that's reading, so I have Faraz, Philip, and Matthew over here. And then subtitles, like instructions right here, that's a subtitle. And then my body text, what's actually going to be read, and it's going to be shown. So I am going to go ahead and save this onto my TriCaster. So now let's go ahead and load our script in. So we'll hit the plus button. We'll load my morning news show script into the automation tab. It loads right in, and now you can see my Atlanta morning show. That's the title style, and that's there ready to go. It's in yellow, so it won't be read out loud. My cue is there, the speaker that's going to read, and it's in a white box, an inverse, so I don't read it out loud. My body text, my next cue for Philip to read, and then my subtitle also came in, right? Yellow, so I don't read it, but tells him to walk over to that green screen. Gives him that information that he might need. Now, some of the information that's not there. I don't have my segments or my blocks there. And so this is supposed to be the local news one, and so on and so forth. The information's there. It's there to be a graphic variable, but I just don't have it in here, which is good. I don't want it on my teleprompter output. One nice thing, though, is I can actually use this forward arrow or backward arrow to jump between those segments. Local news, weather, and then sports over here. Now, how do I get those graphic variables? How do I get those variables into my graphics? Because right now my graphics, for example, are just going to be kind of standard little graphics. There's nothing that impressive going on. So here's one graphic. It's just kind of doing its thing. How do I get this graphic to actually pull in some of that information? So in a very simple way, let me just put on my ME here, and I can go to buffers, and I'm going to go to my buffer where that graphic's loaded. And so right now there's just text in here, right? And we can just change this text out to say, Faraz or anything like that. Nothing too crazy, and that's going to basically show up. I can even tell this to go on top of my video by going to buffer 4 and fading on top, and there it is. I then put it on top of black so we can really see it. Now, what I can also do is tell it to be variables. So I can say, be a variable, and grab that variable from my script. And so to start a variable, or that data link variable, you always start with percentage. And then with LiveStory Creator, it always starts with script. So remember that show title one? Here I've got it, script show title. And so let me show you my interface here again. There we go. I'll lose that. So I can say script, show title, enter, and now it automatically pulled in Atlanta Morning News Show. on the bottom line, I can say percentage script, got to spell script right, and then I can say make this the show description. And so now it's going to say breaking Atlanta news. Oops. So let me close this. And so now if I'm going to put this over black, just kind of see it a little better. And there's my little text variable. Now I can also do this with animated graphics. So for example, let's say, let me put my interface back up, and let's say I want buffer 1 here. I'm going to go to my presets, load it with the lower third, and I'm going to say I want this variable to be, actually let me load this into one of the other buffers. I'm going to load it into buffer 2 here, or buffer 3 for that matter. So I'm going to go to my plus, go to my live graphics. This is where I get my animated graphics. I can choose anything I want here. We'll just choose Sweet Broadcast. That's the same one. Let's choose something different. I like this one. All right. And under my A tool here, I'm going to choose percentage script. And this time, I'm going to say make it the show segment. And it says DL right now because we haven't played that yet. But then after that, I'll say percentage make this the show title. So as I change that, it'll update here. And it's got that variable for me. So I'm going to go ahead and fade this on, get rid of my little break here. Now when I do this automation and I start playing this back, it's automatically going to start queuing things up for me. But you should get a rough idea of what this looks like as it's playing through. So you can see this is the local news segment, and that's there. And there's not necessarily enough time, so it might not update because the scripts aren't very long, but you can see that it did the weather. And this is because I'm scrolling through this text here. And then it's going to go ahead and do sports right here. So it's updating that. And again, it's doing it via the script. I'm going to show you that one more time. And so it's playing the Faraz Ahmed. And then as I bring in my lower third, it could say local news. And now you can see as it's moving down, it's going to say weather. And then as it continues scrolling down, it'll update and say sports. So as you can tell, there's a lot that you can do with live graphics. And live graphics, again, is part of the Premium Access subscription bundle. So that comes with LiveStory Creator and all those tools. But what live graphics really allows you to do is have those animated graphics, and then with LiveStory Creator, you can build those graphics essentially in Word. Those variables are built in Word, and they can move over. So you could do the same thing with training, right? You could say, hey, I want my training divided up into these different sections, and I want, whenever we do a new topic, I want a new lower third to come in. So you would break up your training into those segments. This is segment about the interface, this is a segment about recording, this is a segment about streaming, and you could break them up. And just by making those segment styles in Word, it would update the graphics in here. So it really helps automate that process, and again, allows you to create a lot more content rather than writing it all in Word and then someone sitting here and having to manually create all those and then queue them up as well, right? Because it's the same graphic, it's just updating as you work through the script. So now let's talk a little bit about the pricing and how do we get Premium Access. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and just keep asking them, and Philip will pass on those questions to me. So how do we get LiveStory Creator? It's part of Premium Access, and Premium Access is a NewTek subscription model that's available for a bunch of the units, and we'll talk about it. And LiveStory Creator is one of the features, one of the many features that are part of Premium Access. And so we've got LiveStory Creator, which is what we just covered, but you also have a feature called Virtual PTZ. And what Virtual PTZ does is it allows you to make multiple PTZ shots out of a stationary camera. Essentially, the idea is that you take a 4K camera, it's got 4 times the resolution as HD, so you can get a wide shot, a medium shot, and a tight shot out of Virtual PTZ. A very cool feature that I see a lot of folks really taking advantage of. You've got flexible aspect ratios. So if you need to do a square for Instagram, or you need an aspect ratio that's not your standard 16:9, that will allow you to do it. So you can do vertical video, square video, live graphics that you've been seeing us use. So rather than being stuck with still stationary graphics, this allows you to have animated graphics right within the TriCaster. And these are very powerful animated graphics because you actually design and create the graphics in After Effects, and then they become templates inside the TriCaster. You can also do Photoshop. They give you a large amount of new virtual sets. So you get that complete virtual set library content that NewTek has, as well as some graphics and audio libraries that they include with it. Live Panel, that's a little bit cropped off here, but Live Panel is that tool that allows you to basically have a simple panel through a web interface, like a tablet, so you can control the TriCaster, and anyone can do it. It's not just an experienced person that sees the whole interface. A novice can easily simply control the TriCaster through a touchscreen interface. And then you also get advanced Dante audio capabilities and NDI KVM. NDI KVM is an incredibly cool feature that I have a lot of folks really excited about. Basically allows you to see your entire interface and control it across the NDI network. So you no longer have to be in front of the TriCaster. You can be anywhere inside your network and then control the TriCaster in real time. So it's a lot of powerful features. All these features are part of Premium Access, and they're slowly adding more and more features day by day, right? LiveStory Creator, live graphics, flexible aspect ratios, NDI. These are all things that they added, and you get them for free as long as you're part of their model here. Go ahead and do the next one for me. So normally Premium Access is $199 a month, and it is compatible with Advanced Edition 3. So if you have a 460, an 8000, an 860, a 410, any of those that have AE3 on them, or the TC1, or the 410 Plus, and the VMC1. All those products are compatible with the Premium Access features. And so you can also, here's the interesting part though, if you do Premium Access with ProTech, right, so that's two different products. Premium Access is their subscription software-based software they have, and ProTech is their premium support that includes next-day replacement. So if your unit has an issue or anything happens, ProTech covers you in that situation, and you would actually get a next-day replacement from NewTek to replace your unit, as well as extended phone support and weekend support. They've got a lot of things that are part of ProTech. If you do them together, it can be a huge cost savings. And I'm going to kind of show you an example here. So go ahead and go to that next slide for me, Philip. So this example is for the TC Mini. Now this is ProTech varies by the models that you do, but it just gives you an idea of the huge cost savings that you're going to do. And so a 2-year example here, and normally Premium Access would be $199 times 24 months would be about $4,700. ProTech for the unit would be about $1,395. So that equals about $6,000. However, if you do it as a bundle at the initial purchase, it'll be $2,295 for 2 years, right? So it's a huge cost savings. So you would get ProTech and Premium Access for that one price of $2,295, and that would be for a total for the 2 years. One more slide for me here. Philip's driving my slides. So essentially for $1,100 a month, or sorry, $1,100 a year, you would get ProTech, so that includes next-day replacement of units, and Premium Access features for the entire, that would apply for that whole Mini right there, and that'd be a 2-year cycle right there. So if you do ProTech and Premium Access, huge cost savings. Premium Access itself, for the wealth of features that you're getting, any one of them would be worth that price. When you start including the many features that are part of it, it becomes very much a no-brainer. Another one I just thought of is they have an improved, that's what we're using in here as well, improved LiveMat Ultra. And that's a Premium Access feature as well. So they've got lots and lots of features they have in there, and they're continuing to add more and more features. All right. Any other questions that we've got? Or we're going to wrap up here. We're going to continue staying on the chat here and answer any questions. If you ever need a one-on-one demo or a webinar, please contact us. All our Premium Access subscriptions, of course, come with training. Everything that we sell comes with training. So we would train you, and you can add this Premium Access feature to your current models. Thanks so much for watching. This is Faraz Ahmed.